Hi, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate those of you who come along to observe some of this process. And it's true, I don't always know where this process is going to go, nor have I known for the last 50 years or more, but it seems to be fairly consistent. I was learning something 50 years ago, 45, 40 years ago, 30 years ago. And last year, I'm learning things and doing my best to apply what I'm learning. Some things about what I'm learning I have resisted and still resist. So I thought I would tell you a little bit about that. My original experiences about life, consciousness, soul, iris, birth order, family tree, cycles and seasons, and more than that, a whole series of experiences kept guiding me and insisting that I stay here, by that meaning in the body, that I learn how to get in my body with some intention, some purpose, and if willing, some passion. And I haven't always liked that, because the truth is, what I much prefer is escaping or leaving. Because of the nature of my own childhood and my family tree, my natural tendency to avoid pain and suffering was a form of escapism, and that escapism shaped my abilities, it shaped my attention, it shaped my experiences, and it brought such profound beauty that the desire to leave was stronger than the desire to stay. But every time, literally, I wanted to leave in consciousness, very strong messages would come. Get in your body more. And while you're there, practice these things. And one of those practices was people. It always seemed to come down to people. I think I would have been happier if it said, study rocks, or study trees, study animals. Yeah, I think all those things are doable, but it said, study people. So the iris brought me into studying myself, and it brought me into studying others. And then the cycles and seasons of it all brought me into studying the times of the day relative to people. So yes, every time I wanted to change, it kept leading me back to here. I know this is odd to say here. This is obviously, well, maybe not obvious. This is a bone, and this happens to be close-up photography of a single vertebrae in the spine. Now, you've seen this before if you've been around before, but my guidance has been, go in here, occupy it, feel it, and breathe inside of it. I mean, how do you breathe into and through your bones? And then while there, engage in and be aware of your family. I know that's kind of odd, but the strong message is particularly on this is the third week of the number one girl in the Northern Hemisphere. All that is this is a first in a series of sequences. This corresponding to the bones, pelvic cavity, also corresponds to self-survival, instinctual behavior, very much associated with the smallest diameter that you can individually appreciate. The smallest diameter meaning family. 3 circles. Family, which is also the element of self. Others, which is like a community or a country. And all, which is like global and or everybody on earth or everybody not on earth in the spirit world. Self, others, and all. These 3 diameters, they are part of and regulate everything that we experience. So yes, my family tree resides in memory, stored within the molecules of the bones. The ancestral memories are not just genetically everywhere. Even the genome, going back for nearly 200,000 years, is all composed of crystals, minerals. Literally, the DNA is composed of crystals. And some of the more recent ones are protein tags, and they're epigenetic methylations, which are crystals. So they're crystals of memory given to us, stored throughout the body, but one of the primary places they're stored is in the bone crystals of the spine. So I'm continually, especially during this month of the One Girl Bone Month, going inside the bone and wanting to acknowledge, change, embody the positive, release the uncomfortable or the negative, and to be able to occupy the bones more thoroughly. Here's the dilemma. The dilemma is it's not pretty. And it's much easier to not go here. To not go here is called being normal. Normal people have activities, social manifestations, sensory activities outside the body, sight, sound, motion, texture, taste, touch, everything outside the body, but not an awareness inside the body. Now, I've had profound experiences by going inside the bone. Give you, again, some appreciation of it. If you want to try something, then take an image like this. I suggest you use this image because it's an actual human vertebrae, and this is what your bones look like. They're not dense. There's gaps in between them. But I like this one where it's dense, so I put my focus of my attention, and I always go from my visual field to the right. Now, to the right means you're going in through the left and you're coming out the other side of the body. So it's left hand receives, right hand sends. But from the perspective of me and the image, I go to the right. I go to the right side of the picture I'm viewing, and I'll sometimes go up here because I found that it actually enables me to get inside the bone if I go to the right. Maybe it's just because I'm right-handed. You could throw that at me if you want, but I've tried lots of times going to the left, looking for a different result, and not once could I get inside by going to the left. Maybe it's different for you. Maybe it's a gender-based thing. Maybe it's a left-handed, right-handed. I don't know. Maybe it's an age thing. I don't know. But for me, going to the right, I got inside of the bone. And by that, I mean the things that worked for me was to go inside and then utilize my mind and imagination and my senses inside. So when I would go inside, one of the first things I would do is imagine myself being unobstructed by clothes. Yeah, that's called naked or never mind. It's being in there without clothes on, where I could sense and feel my entire crystal function with my whole body. So I used to practice feeling it first with the back of my neck. I found that to be very effective. Go inside, feel. Now, the interesting thing about it is my suggestion is hold still with your outer body. Stillness with your outer physical body. But on the inside, you can be liberated to be dynamic with your sense of touch, your sense of movement. You can dance, and you can breathe. So I found that by coming in here, breathing into this, I had profound experiences of occupying my body more. And I found it to be relatively safe. There were moments when unusual things happened, like I would have Kundalini-like experiences. And I believe that you're relatively safe, guarded by your own guides about what you're doing, so you'll be guided to do or not to do something to the boundary of your current capacity. So I have faith in your own guides to guide you about how much or how little to do something. But you might try this. The reason I'm suggesting it to you is the memory that we need to get to occupy this place is the frozen memory that are little carbon molecules inside your bones. So, how to feel. Now, the challenge is this. I'm on my 3rd year practicing week to week, month to month, season to season. This is my 3rd year in a row connected to go into this place. It's a 3. Now, to me, the numbers are important. The first year has a different effect. The second year has a different effect. The 3rd year has a new and different effect. So I'm experiencing it in a much more emotional way than I have in the past. Now, the challenge is, for me, it's brought up my social emotional memories of my childhood and family tree, not necessarily in an easy way. And I don't consider myself to be, quite frankly, that different than you or anyone else. I think everyone in some form or another has had difficult childhood patterns, and sociologically, race, religion, gender, who knows what the magnitude is of what all of us have gone through collectively and individually. I don't think it's, just me that needs to go into the bone. I think that everybody eventually needs to have a desire to occupy it. So I'm suggesting that you do, but you need to also consider, please do, there are other approaches that tell you to completely ignore it or detach from it. Don't go there. There are entire religious, spiritual processes that tell you detachment is the way. Some people, whole religious processes tell you becoming aware means that you can become aware without touching into it. And this is certainly something for you to consider. So I'm bringing it to your attention because it's your own responsibility to choose to be more aware by detaching, or choosing to be more aware by becoming more embodied. Now, everything that I've been shown from the beginning is saying, embody the divine in your body. So everything I'm about has to do with how to more fully engage my social emotional feelings, my capacity to live, to thrive, to be in the world while embodying the divine presence with my physical anatomy, with my feelings, with my imagination, with my mind, with my ego, with all of the elements that people would say are elements of separation. I'm suggesting it's your choice, but it's my choice to embody this with the perfections of times of the day, the appreciation of the divine nature of sacred geometry. If I look at something like this is sacred geometry in nature, around me, in the world around me. I'm willing and desiring to experience the divine design for every crystal, every molecule, every radiance of color, every fragrance, every moment, every day. I'm wanting to live in the body with more appreciation and embodiment of my capacity to feel. I've made that choice. That's where I am with it. So sometimes I use a picture like this that you've probably seen before. It's just a picture of space, but wow, is it? To me, it represents the very thing that I'm aspiring to embody, a tiny pinpoint inside me, occupying these magnitudes of sensitivity, feeling, awareness. So I'm choosing to occupy it this way. So in this season of the month, and the month of this season, this is the season of, in the Northern Hemisphere, summer, and in the Southern Hemisphere is the first month of winter, and how to occupy this. So yeah, literally I'm occupying it by doing something like this. Winter and summer, I like to feel the Southern Hemisphere, the Northern Hemisphere. I like to feel it from the equilibrium of the yin and the yang function, the left brain, the right brain, the parasympathetic, the sympathetic function. I'm wanting to feel and occupy it more. But the results I'm experiencing is like some fairly, how do I put it, agonizing sorrow. I'm feeling the magnitude of human despair. Is it only in me, or is it in my family? Is it, wow, human suffering. Wow. Pain, hopelessness, disappointment. I could use more adjectives, because some of them, I don't think they have easy adjectives. But I'm also doing what I consider to be important, which is protocoling it. That's just simply the sincere desire not to avoid the feeling, but to welcome it. Show me the truth about this feeling, and every feeling like this I've denied. So I'm personally having some challenging moments, because my one girl month, first month of summer, and my older one girl sister, who virtually raised me in many ways, and everything to do with the survivalist nature of the number one girl, really strong. So I'm doing my best to, okay, take a breath, bring it on. Yes, I am practicing different breath exercises while in my bones. Later on, I'll share with you what that is. I've got a couple of surprises with the breath. If you want to breathe in some comfortable way that you like, or some way that you've been trained, I would encourage you to go in this place, occupy, breathe into your bones, feel it, desire to feel it. So my responsibility to you is to let you know where I am, let you know what I'm testing, and give you the free will option to test it or not to test it. I mean, I would be completely understanding if you waited another year or two just to see if I lived that long. I don't know. I don't know what will happen, but I'm willing to go forward. And part of it is I need to go forward, because every message I get is I need to occupy this place with the innocence of a small baby. Here's one of my favorite ones. This happens to be my son Nathaniel and his younger sister by 8 years or something like that. This level of memory is inside my own bones. And I have deep feelings about this relationship I just showed you, and my one girl personal responsibilities, sensitivities about my own children, my own family, and how there are cascades of emotions that come through them and me. As most of you know, the hardest thing you'll ever do is your family. It's not easy to be in one. It's not easy to have one. And it's certainly not easy to counsel or to guide other people with families when the primary place they need to go is to feel the childlike innocence restored inside their own bones. And that's what I'm striving for. I discover that in my family genealogy, that my family goes back to slavers and murderers. I'm processing some of that. The history of war and violence in my family tree, not pretty. Am I responsible for it all? My personal opinion is yes, I am. I'm responsible to see it. I'm responsible to become aware of it. Am I responsible for changing it all? Personally, I don't think so. But I do feel like I am responsible for changing what I've contributed to it. So I'm working with this childlike innocence to help me to access levels of sensitivity deep inside my own genetics, bones, family tree during this first month of summer. And then the opposite side of that, first month of winter, is called the one boy month. The one boy month is the month of the breath. So I'm practicing using one boy breath inside of my bones. And I'm cleaning house. And it's not pretty. So I would suggest that if you're looking for some flourishing optimism about how this feels like, I can't give it to you. I have a faith-based optimism in the long run, but for some reason we have this opportunity to be more alive by facing these situations rather than denying their existence. You're welcome to experiment one side or the other side, or make up your own. I believe that's your right to do exactly what you really want to do. So again, thank you for your ongoing patience with my own way of changing. I'll report back to you what I'm feeling. I'll share with you some of my new data on my heart rate monitor and all those things. I've got some interesting things to share with you, and I'll come back in a few days and give you a gift of a breathing technique that was given to me. Have a good one. See you soon. Good luck with that family.